God, I fucking hate the Daily Mail. Like, Britain would be such a better country if they just managed to get rid of this goddamn newspaper. It's it really doesn't have that much credibility, and it exists just to whip up anger and bullshit. Like this whole headline turned out to be a bunch of clickbait, and it's a lesson in reading the whole article. So I'm gonna read it to you. You know, a 23-year-old woman was fatally shot while playing Russian roulette in Cincinnati, Ohio. What? Like, the article then goes on to underline its own premise as it goes on. Roberta Courts died from a bullet wound to her chest after her friend allegedly suggested they play the deadly game of chance. Um, in Russian roulette, you usually put the gun to your head. Traditionally, the alleged shooter, Martin Horn, 23, was arrested with a slew of charges the following morning, including felony murder, felonious assault, and reckless homicide, because this wasn't a fucking suicide, as your premise is making it sound. The suspect appeared in court as the prosecutor said the 23-year-olds were playing a card game with their respective partners. Now watch it goes on. The accused home of whipping out a revolver and taking out all but one shell before pointing it to his head. As per the infamous game, it doesn't tell us if he pulled the trigger. Prosecutors added that Horn chillingly suggested let's play Russian roulette. It's unclear if he pulled the trigger on himself, police said. You know, she died from a gunshot wound to her chest, allegedly after playing. This is the guy that supposedly did it, in this whole thing. He then allegedly points the guns at Coyons and pulled the trigger, striking her in the chest. The Cincinnati Fire Department responded to the call at 10:45 a.m. and found her suffering from a gunshot wound. Cordes Counts was pronounced dead at the scene. So he pointed it at her and fired. In Russian roulette, you're passing the gun back and forth after putting it to your head. Like these are the conventional rules of the game. Like you don't not. This was a fucking cold-blooded murder. She didn't consent to anything. She didn't even say anything from what we know in response to this. What the article, said. None of that was a factor here. And people are reacting like, yo, Darwin may have had something to say about this, and it's like she wasn't playing Russian roulette. This wasn't a suicide. This was felony murder. The fucking Daily Mail is putting out a clickbait fucking article and lying to us about what happened in the headline. The headline is dead wrong. This wasn't Russian roulette at all. No matter what this guy called it. If this was actually true, Hamilton County Judge William Mallory labeled the death as a quote senseless tragedy unquote. It's sad when people use a firearm as a toy because if these circumstances are true, this is truly a tragedy, Mallory said. Courtroom video obtained by WLWT5 showed the accused gunman slumping into the court with his head hanging low. Video cuts to Horn uncontrollably sobbing, and shaking by being unable to maintain eye contact. Prosecutor said Horn may face a life sentence if he's found guilty, according to People magazine. In court, Horn's defense attorney asked the judge for grace and leniency when setting his bond, adding that he had no prior criminal record. The WPSO replied. Despite the request, Judge Mallory set the bond's Horn at $1 million, stressing the severity of the charges and the fatal outcome. The grand jury date is set for Thursday, with the additional updates to come. Counts is remembered as an active young woman who enjoyed being involved and was always at the center of something, according to her obituary. She was cool and quirky. She loved being around others and making her laugh. Her family and friends were very important to her. So you read the whole. Now that we've read the whole article, we can draw some conclusions. This wasn't at all Russian roulette. What happened? The Daily Mail's headline is a bullshit lie. The reporter's whole premise was undermined by what followed. It's like, holy shit, can you even stick to your own script? Your own story refutes itself, like honestly, and I don't know why they even allowed him in the room. You know, this guy was a monster, to be honest with you. But you know, everybody, a lot of these people, you know, are replying, you know, in the whole thing that you know like this was a Darwin Award. This woman was murdered. You know, she didn't consent to any of this. It's a game of suicide. It's not one in which you know somebody can point the gun at you and you know fire. That's not that would be like a completely different game that was being played. I mean, this is not what you know Russian roulette is conventionally. In my view, is that whatever is the conventional game is what it objectively is, and so anybody who disagrees is psychotic at best. You're delusional. Get help because there's only one set of rules, and if it's anything that is different than that and different in any way, then it is not at all Russian roulette, and you can go fuck yourself because your opinion is invalid and you are fucking delusional. Period. You're arguing 2 plus 2 equals 5, and I mean 2 plus 0.0 and followed by an infinite progression of zeros, you know? So plus 2 followed by a point followed by an infinite progression of zeros plus, you know, 2 plus 2.0 followed by an infinite progression of zeros plus 2.0 followed by an infinite progression of zeros. You're arguing that that equals 5. It's 4. You're wrong. Get help. There's one set of rules to it, and anything that differs from that set of rules is not at all Russian roulette. You know? And these guys misreported, and also in the traditional game, there's only one bullet in the chamber. Yeah, so it's 1 out of 8. Your odds, not 7 out of 8. This guy did it on purpose. He knew that the odds were overwhelming that this person was going to die, so these are crocodile tears from a man that's just sad he got caught. Oh, boo-hoo. My life is ruined because I made a stupid decision. You fucked around, now you get to find out.